ASMR. True Scary Stories. Please like, subscribe, comment, and let's get started, my little scaries. This first story made my heart race. It gave me palpitations. I had to sit down and calm myself down a little bit. So enjoy. Here we go. Me, 36-year-old female, and my daughter Olivia, 16-year-old female, lived in a small town in South Dakota. She goes with her father every weekend. She leaves every Friday afternoon and comes back Sunday evenings. So usually she'll be gone by the time I get home from work on Friday evenings. This particular Friday, when I pulled up to our driveway, I looked up at her window and I noticed her bedroom light was still on. I figured she accidentally left it on before leaving. I don't know. I walked into the house and I hear movement coming from upstairs. Oh, she's still home, I whispered to myself. I went upstairs and knocked on her bedroom door, slowly opening it. Your dad isn't picking you up this weekend? I asked. No, I told him I want to stay, she said while looking down at her journal. Great. I'll make dinner for us and we can watch a movie if you like. There was a long pause before she said, yes. I closed her door, and I thought she was acting a bit standoffish. She usually has a lot to say. I texted her dad, asking if maybe they got into some sort of disagreement or argument that led to her not wanting to go with him this weekend. I went downstairs, and I started making dinner for us. As the food was cooking, I started organizing things around the house, and I noticed Olivia's book bag and coat aren't hung where we usually hang our things when we get home. I thought maybe she just took her things to her room. No biggie. I went into the living room and saw Olivia sitting on the couch, facing away from me. I didn't even hear her come down the stairs. She kind of startled me, especially because she's just sitting there, not on her phone, like usual, and the TV is off. But I walk over to the kitchen and check on the food. I yell out to ask if she could pick out a movie for us. I went back out to check what movie she picked, and to my surprise, the TV is still off and she's still sitting there, motionless. Olivia, didn't you hear me? I said. I grabbed the remote and picked out a movie. I chose The Conjuring. I love Vera Moringa. I grabbed our plates, and as I sat down on the couch, I heard a notification coming from my phone in the kitchen. I told her I'd be right back. I checked my phone, and it was a text from her father. After reading his message, my body went cold and stiff. Literal chills. He said, "What do you mean?" I picked up Olivia from school, and we're grabbing dinner with her grandma right now. I feel catatonic at this point. I took a deep breath and walked slowly toward the living room, peeking in to see if it was still sitting on the couch. It was. It was just sitting there, very still, looking forward, but away from me. I haven't even seen Olivia's face since I've been home. Like this thing has purposefully been avoiding eye contact. voice coming from upstairs, sounding just like my Olivia. It said, "Mom, I'm upstairs. I need your help," in the most sinister voice. Hell no. I grabbed my keys and ran the fuck out of the house. I was shaking so much I couldn't even put the damn keys in the ignition. God, I wish I had a push start for this very moment. As I reversed out of my driveway, I looked up at the house, and it was at Olivia's window, waving at me. Faceless. I couldn't even breathe. I never drove off so fast in my entire life. Oh my God. What is it about mimic stuff? It just is so ew and just terrifying and awful. Oh, I cannot with this story. Girl, I need a part 2 that tells me what happened when you came back home. For reals. Okay, anyway. Next. This is a short one. When I was about 20, I lived alone in an inner city neighborhood in Atlanta. I was in college and pretty lonely, so I'd sometimes go to the local bar and just read. One night, just before Halloween, I was at a bar and a guy sat next to me and started chatting with me. He was a bit older, blonde hair, and quite friendly. We shoot the shit for about a half hour when he looks at me with this serious look and says, "You need to leave this place now." And then he vanished. Like in front of me. Just gone. I felt this fear and left immediately. The next morning, I was walking to the train for school and passed by the same bar. It was taped off as a crime scene. There were police all over. I asked a bystander what was up, and they said that a man had been murdered in the bathroom the night before. WTF. That's spooky, spooky, spooky. I'm gonna go ahead and say I think that gentleman who told you to leave was probably a guardian angel. That feels very guardian angel to me. And actually, in a lot of the responses and comments about this story, a lot of people agree with me. I'm glad you got out of there when you did. Scary. Okay, next. This happened when I was around 10 years old, and I still can't explain it. As background, the upstairs level of our house had a small landing with 4 rooms in close proximity to the stairs. My parents' room was on the right, a bathroom straight ahead, and me and my sister's rooms on the left. One day, I was standing in the bathroom getting ready when, from the corner of my eye, I noticed what appeared to be a large, black creature on the stairs. I turned to look directly at it, and saw a huge, fluffy black dog bounding up the stairs. We didn't have a dog at the time, but our neighbors had a big black Newfoundland named Schooner. Anyway, I watched the dog run upstairs and turn right into my parents' room. I assumed that Schooner had somehow gotten into our house, and I was worried about our cats. So I ran out of the bathroom and I slammed my parents' door, trapping the dog in the room. Then Then I stood on the landing and called out for my mom, yelling, "Mom, help! I just trapped a huge dog in your room. I think it might be Schooner." Seconds later, she came upstairs. We stood on the landing next to the closed door while I explained what happened. She told me to stay there. Then she opened the door, walked in, and closed it behind her. About a minute later, she walked out with a cynical look on her face and said, "Very funny." I looked at her confused and said, "What do you mean?" She replied, "There's no dog in there." I couldn't believe it. I told her that was impossible. Then I ran into the room and searched everywhere. My mom was right. There was no dog in that room. We were on the second floor, and the windows were screened and closed. From the moment I slammed the door until I searched the room, I was standing beside the only exit. There's no way the dog could have escaped without me seeing it. My mom shrugged it off, still suspicious that I was playing a trick on her. She eventually blamed it on my active imagination. But that's the only time in my life that I've physically seen something that wasn't there. I know I didn't imagine it. To this day, I have no clue what happened. Was this a one-time hallucination for no apparent reason? Was it a ghost? A glitch in the matrix? Did I cross from one plane of existence to another? I'm a rational person who always looks for a rational, evidence-based explanation for things. And I can almost always find one, but I cannot find any rational explanation for that experience. Sounds like a hellhound. That's really spooky. Yikes. Moving on. I always have strange things happen at or near cemeteries. In San Antonio, they have a children's cemetery. I hadn't ever really stopped by there, even though it's on the way out and a lot of our family rests there. It's kind of eerie. One time, we took the kids to a local park and we were driving in the main road. And suddenly, I hear kids playing. But there are no kids anywhere. I realize after saying something that I'm the only one who hears it. I turn around and go back to the cemetery and start to drive through. We stop at my grandma's grave and then head out. As we are rounding the curve, I see children standing around. I say, I wonder why they're standing around like that. My hubby and kids look. Who's standing around? Where? I'm like, right there, pointing. I've slowed the vehicle down and we are crawling past them. They all say, "There's no one there, Mom." The kids that are standing there turn and look at me and then vanish. I put the car in park and jump out, start walking over to the headstones where they just were, and I can hear crying. There were tiny pictures of them on the headstone. My kids walk over in shock. "Mommy, are these babies buried here?" They start going to each one, everyone, saying each of their names out loud. And then I hear giggling. I tell them, I hear giggling. My daughter says they wanted to hear their names. hungry? Let's go out to dinner." The kid said, "Yeah, we stayed for a long time." And we just looked at each other again. I mouthed to him, No, we didn't." We didn't say anything else to the kids. We just went to the DQ and ate, just staring at each other creepily. I think perhaps you are sensitive to the paranormal. Some people just are. Sounds like you might be. Sorta neat and definitely creepy. Okay. I went on a drive with my dad today on the back roads past my hometown. We just wanted to explore the more rural areas of our surrounding, you know. So we go for this joyride, minding our business and having fun until we encounter this eerie, extremely narrow, one-way gravel road in the middle of nowhere with no signs of life anywhere, aside from the memorial of a man who crashed and died. So we drive this creepy-ass area, midday, mind you, for about an hour, going straight. Along this ride, we find a bunch of rusted-out, large, crumpled hunks of metal. We can't even make out what the fuck these shapes even used to be. We also find random structures that we also can't figure out. It's like an unfinished area with no signs of life anywhere. Anyways, we turn around finally, driving this same narrow road where we haven't seen another car in an hour, and we make it back to the memorial site in 10 damn minutes. Driving slower than before. The kicker is that we find a bunch of furniture that wasn't there before. And there was no sign of anyone else. How the fuck did we drive an hour's distance in 10 minutes going slower? The whole ride back was completely silent. My grown-ass dad was freaked out too. Someone help. That's very glitch in the matrix. Bit of a time warp. Okay. We're gonna do just a little bit more of a different story from The Fright Before Christmas. And I think from here until Christmas, I'll try to include one of these little stories as well every time. Just so you know, I'm going to be not doing a sound smoothie at the end of this. I will include a separate video that you can click on and watch that's just going to be pure ASMR sounds and triggers. I just had a few requests to sort of divide them into scary stories and ASMR, so we're gonna give that a try. Okay, I hope that's okay and you can still enjoy one or the other or both sorts of videos from me. Okay, so here we go. This lovely guy named Belsnickel. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I'm not sure. Belsnickel. This is what he looks like. Okay, let's learn a little bit about him. If Krampus is too lethal for your liking, I understand. It's frightening to think of monsters hunting for our naughty children. Because the optimist in us believes that the worst children can be redeemed if given the right chances and motivation. Fortunately, there's a Yuletide figure who can offer that motivation in the form of a brutal beating. Enter Belsnickel. Belsnickel hails from the Palatinate region in Europe, which lies in the central southwest western part of Germany. His bearded face is streaked with soot, and his clothes are tattered patchwork of furs. Sometimes he may wear antlers fastened to his head to give himself a monstrous half-animal look. In his hand, he carries a switch of sticks. His name translates to Nicholas in furs. He travels alone. The Belsnickel shows up at your home 1 to 2 weeks before Christmas as a welcome sight for parents, but not so much for children. For the kids, the Belsnickel is there to inquire, test, and pass judgment. He carries with him rewards like candies and cakes. But that switch is not just for show. After being welcomed into a home by parents, he'll gather the children in one room. Maybe he'll place some sweets and cakes on the table. But don't go grabbing for them without asking. The sweets are part of the test. Kids who grab are soon smacked with sticks. Just a warning at first, but keep testing the Belsnickel and you'll pay the price. Yet, for some children, there is no escaping the wrath of the Belsnickel. Parents simply point out the naughtiest kids upon the arrival of the Belsnickel. The Belsnickel nods and knows what to do next. That wicked child will be taken outside, tied to a tree, and beaten. The hope is that this punishment will be enough to get the naughty child back on the right path so they're worthy of presents for Christmas. The Belsnickel has been around since the 17th century. Many people believe he's derivative of a cousin in northern Germany called Knecht Ruprecht. Knecht Ruprecht translates to farmhand or servant Rupert or Robert. A companion of Saint Nicholas who first showed up in the city of Nuremberg. Knecht Ruprecht accompanies Saint Nicholas to punish the naughty children while Nicholas rewards the good ones. Ruprecht is literally a servant of St. Nicholas, and like a servant, he does the dirty work so his master can keep his hands clean. The roles of these cohorts may sound similar to that of Krampus, which is logical considering all of these creatures hail from the roughly same region of Europe. Ruprecht's dress is basic and matches that of any peasant farmhand. He carries a bag of ashes, which explains his soot-covered face. As his legend spread throughout Germany, the Belsnickel was born. The distance from Nuremberg to Palatinate region is only 150 miles, which is not very far for a legend to travel and evolve, as a new region adds its own touches to the point where it becomes something new entirely. The biggest difference between Knecht Ruprecht and Belsnickel is that Belsnickel doesn't need St. Nicholas by his side to do his work. I want to do one more. I think I'll do one more. This is Grýla. Grýla. She is a Christmas witch, and funny enough, if you watch the movie that's out called The Red One on, I think it's on Netflix or Amazon Prime, I'm not sure, but it's a really big movie right now, and it's gotten really good reviews, and I watched it with my family. It's actually like an action/Christmas movie, and Grýla is the villain in this movie, so, kind of cool. Let's learn about her real quick. There is no question that Krampus steals the headlines. He's got that look, you know, but he's gone Hollywood. He eats at restaurants we couldn't even walk by because they're so exclusive. Yet he's not the only monster we need to fear this holiday season. For even darker holiday horror, we travel to Iceland to meet the frigid queen of Christmas, a witch, mountains of Iceland. In Iceland, midwinter is known as Jul. It's dark. The sun barely rises this far north. It's cold. And now we have to watch out for a beastly troll of a woman who hunts children. The first time Grýla appears in writing dates back to the 13th century, when some of the great historic Icelandic sagas and poems were first documented. Down comes Grýla from the outer fields with 40 tails, a bag on her back, a sword, knife in her hand, coming to carve out the stomachs of children who cry for meat during Lent. Grýla loosely translates to growler in English. In those early days, she wasn't specifically associated with midwinter and instead represented more of a constant threat that lived in the mountains but came down to hunt. Parents were more than happy to share her story with their children too. The more horrific the telling, the better, because if you could keep your children afraid of the mountains, particularly in the long and dark winter nights, you kept them safer. As a parent, you had to figure that even if Grýla didn't abduct and kill your children in those woods, there were plenty of other dangers that might do the killing on behalf of the mountain ogress. Over time, though, she tied one of her many tails to the Yule, and has remained there ever since. A large and beastly ogress, the Grýla is feared by all. There is a story of her eating one of her husbands because she was bored with him. Then there are the children who live in constant fear of ending up as an ingredient in one of her stews. All of these figures are associated with the wild. To put it into context, when Iceland was first settled around 900 CE, it was all open. There were no humans there yet, but soon after Europeans first arrived, people built farms and then towns. They would clear the land to make an area for themselves. They changed the landscape. The spirits were then forced to move further out or up into the mountains. The farthest area out of the wild is the realm of trolls, the outlaws. And closer to the farms are the hidden people, the elves, the nature spirits, and the fairies.